sort of laid everything out there on the table, made clear a lot of the undercurrents that we've been feeling in the United States over the last couple of years. It is now very clear that Jews, we already knew that they weren't safe in a lot of Western European capitals, certainly not safe in Middle Eastern cities, including inside Israel itself. They are now not safe in America's capital.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a trend that's been going on for several years, accelerated since the October 7th attacks. And you and I both have kids about the same age. And I know people who send their children to synagogue schools, Jewish preschools, and there are armed guards outside, which is completely antithetical to what my religion is about. And it's deeply upsetting and disturbing. I was in DC the night of the shooting a few blocks away, and it's hard to believe, and at the same time, it actually makes complete sense based on what we've been seeing over the last year and a half. And my heart goes out to the families of Yoram Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram. Where I feel that the administration has really lost the plot, though, is why they have decided to squander so much goodwill in terms of combating anti-Semitism on college campuses by this level of gross overreach. What they're trying to do with Harvard to take away 27% of the population, which is the international population there, what they're doing at Columbia, threatening at Princeton, etc., indicates that they are a bunch of wannabe dictators who want to control American university life. They want to control the curriculum. They want to control the faculty. They want to control the student body.
Well,
they want to control research.
I mean, look
no,
what's
they don't,
happening.
Joey.
I mean,
Under
look
no
what's
circumstances.
happening.
We have a First Amendment.
I wouldn't send my kid to one of those schools.
We have a First Amendment and we have academic freedom in this country. And that's what the courts are doing. They're pushing back from immigration to academic freedom. The courts are showing up. But it's clear that this administration is just taking every opportunity that they can to amass as much executive power and control as possible. And they're also not thinking about the consequences if the shoe is ever going to be on the other foot. You know, it is possible that a Democrat could get elected. And if you set a precedent that you're going to have this kind of level of control, you're not going to be very happy with the implications of that. I'm glad to see the university standing strong, supporting their research communities, but we are going to be less safe because of this. We are going to be less prosperous. The economic benefit out of these research labs is astronomically good for the American economy. And people are, you know, you can joke and say, well, what do we want you anyway? They're going to go to other universities because if you can be picked up, if you're a Turkish national with a visa here and you can be picked up and put in an ICE truck, or you can't even get into Harvard now, why wouldn't you just go to Oxford?
At the same time, I talked to the DHS secretary.
Do you know how silly that sounds?
Christy Noem says,
suck it,
that she says that coming to the United States on a student visa for any foreigner is a privilege, and she is correct. It is not a right that anybody has. Joey, what about the argument that it's simply incumbent upon the U.S. government to vet foreign students? You know, rather than getting rid of them, what about vetting them? Or
President Trump is the president of hard reset because we've put our country in a place where we need it. All this complaining about Doge, they're using a meat cleaver instead of a surgical knife. Well, that's because when you do the surgical knife method, it gets convoluted in what is government and bureaucracy. So a lot of these things are hard resets, and it's okay if it pisses people off because we need it. Maybe if you get passionate about it beyond your partisanship, maybe then you'll look for a real solution. So if everybody's, I mean, I don't know who didn't see the committee hearing where Elise Stefanik grilled the university presidents, and they all looked absolutely foolish to the point that one of them kind of lost her job over it. So when you say, you know, the Trump administration wants to dictate who's in charge of these colleges, there's a difference between wants to make sure that these essentially bad actors aren't in charge of the college and deciding who gets to be in charge of the college. No one's under any belief that Harvard's going to be a conservative university or that Columbia is going to be a conservative university. Columbia goes back 20 years of hating on veterans. You think they're ever going to change their ways? No, that's exactly what they are. They're extreme left. That's what the university is. That's who they hire. That's the culture they've bred. And the government does play a role because it is the government's job to keep us safe. That's the reason why even conservatives believe in a big, strong defense. And so it's our government's job to keep us safe. And one of those roles and responsibilities is helping administer the law and decide who gets to come into our country and who gets to stay. And if you're coming here to sow hate and discontent, then your ass should be on the first plane or bus out of here.
Certainly if you're going to threaten people too and make them not just feel unsafe, but actually be unsafe on college campuses. I think that's Secretary Noem's strongest argument, right? That university is failing its most basic commitment, right? Which is to keep its students safe from physical harm.
Well, it's the irony is just a few years ago we needed safe spaces on campuses because someone like Tommy
Now you really need them.
is going to hurt your feelings so bad you need hospital time. Like that was not that. Oh, and by the way, that was all liberal violence too, because every time somebody like Tommy went to speak, they stormed into the room and pushed people around, and they had to rush them out of the college. So there's a book called The Calling of the American Mind. It's not written by conservatives, and they give you a great history on how these colleges and universities have gone down the drain on this, how they're not for free speech, and it's crazy. Like, oh, there's got to be free speech and free thought. Well, that's not what they are. The right opinion from the right isn't allowed on these college campuses. It just isn't. And if you're brave enough to do it, you're not going to make good grades. I mean, it's that simple.
So, Greg, why did you do it? Why did you ruin Harvard University, Columbia University?
This is not about stopping free speech or trying to take control of colleges. That's ridiculous. This is about finally challenging a destructive mindset that has poisoned academia, and it's a poison that these academic places have abdicated their role in. They've let it happen. This wouldn't have to happen if they actually fought this mind virus. It's the oppression filter. For some reason, one segment of society gets a free punch and the other segment of society receives it. It isn't just on campuses. There are actually literally people getting punched on our streets because they deserve it. If you look at no cash bail, decriminalization of mass theft, allowing for trespassing, squatting, violent protest, vandalism, harassment. There is an idea that has come out of the campuses that a segment of society is owed a free punch, and the Jews, they deserve the punch. That's what you're learning here. Why is that? Well, they're white-coated and they're successful. In the same vein that the white South African farmers, nobody cares about them. Why is that? Because they're white. So they aren't allowed in the oppression mindset. They are still the oppressor even when they're the victims. When Jews are victims, they are still the oppressor. Why? I just told you. If I were a parent of a high school kid, I would really worry about the ease at which these really bad ideas can take hold of your child. You know, when you send your kid off to school, you're hoping that they get an education, but now you have to think about how do I inoculate them so they're not swept up in a violent-minded ideology. You know, the fault lies